I'm not really proud of this. Like, we just beat the game because we used items. That's it.
Boys, we gotta put an end to this small town talent show ourselves. It's already gone on well past the fat lady's encore.
What's the next move, sir?
A-Squad Vanquisher, packed to the attic with assault doohickeys, and Daddy's gonna sit in a big chair.
Previously, Weedle was able to beat the entire game of Pokemon Yellow, but it required items to get it done. Today, we ask a different question. Could we beat the entire game with the worst possible team? Kakuna and Metapod both lose stats in attack and speed when they evolve, and Magikarp is one of the worst Pokemon in Generation 1, and one of the worst Pokemon ever. So, let's see if this team is going to be able to get through, especially with their attack stats being so low, and their speed being quite bad. So here we get started in the game, and we're going to actually start off by getting a Weedle from Professor Oak. The idea is that Weedle will evolve into Kakuna at level 7, and hopefully that will get us access to Harden, and we'll be able to go through the game with a badge boosting move. So, the first section of the game is not too difficult. We just have to get our Weedle, and we're going to name it Kakuna, just because, why not? And then, after we get out of here with our Weedle, we have to fight Rival 1. Now, we saw in the Weedle video that this isn't an easy fight, but it is possible. So, let's get into this fight after we see that for sure we've got our Weedle. It takes a few attempts to get through Rival 1, because he, of course, has Stab with Tackle, and he can use Tail Whip. But finally, we get a reasonable run where we're able to Poison Sting him down. Next up, we are on to Viridian Forest, and first things first, we're going to train up our Weedle to get it to evolve into a Kakuna. Hopefully that will get us Harden? No, it doesn't get us Harden, because this is Pokemon Yellow version, and Kakuna doesn't learn Harden in Yellow version. Oh no. So here we go against Rival 1A. We've already leveled up to level 11, but we're just using Poison Sting to take him down. So, with that being done, we can now move on and try to get our second team member. We're going to catch a wild Caterpie, and the idea is that this wild Caterpie is going to evolve into a Metapod at level 7, and in Yellow version, Metapod does learn Harden at level 7. This is probably because there were no wild Weedles in the original Yellow version, so the devs probably didn't see any reason to give it Harden at level 7. Here we take down the Light Years trainer really with no problem, and it's time to take our first attempt at Brock. Here at level 16, our whole strategy is to poison the Geodude. We want to get 6 poisons off so that it will stay poisoned, and then we're going to switch into Metapod since a Metapod has access to Harden. In this one, we get knocked out, but now Metapod is tackling down the Geodude, and we can see at least the first Pokemon is going to go down. Now, can we get the luck to get through Onix? Here, we've only got a level 10 Metapod, so we're not very strong. But maybe we get the luck? We do have 6 Harden set up, and String Shot lets us outspeed the Onix. But no, this one's not going to work out, guys. We get taken out. So, time to go back for a second attempt. Here, in this one, we are now fighting him at level 19 with our Kakuna. That gives us a lot more HP and of course a lot more defense. So here we're able to whittle the Geodude down as we're trying to get poison to stick on it. He has 5 full heals for each Pokemon, but if we get 6 poisons, he'll stay poisoned. Once we get the 6th poison off, we switch to Metapod, where now it's a matter of spamming Harden until we get our stats up. And now we can just start tackling this Geodude down. After Geodude goes down, we've already got all our Harden set up, so we're just going to use a couple String Shots so we outspeed the Onix, and now we're trying to time out its movements. So when it uses Bide, we use Harden. When it uses anything other than Bide, we're going to tackle it. Here, we're whittling it down a little bit, but it does finally take us out. Okay, well, we still have Kakuna. Let's see if we can get Poison to stick on this one. We are already outspeeding, so we just need to avoid hitting it while it uses Bide. Every Poison gives us a full heal, and that's a free turn. So here, we're just trying to get it to stick. Come on, can we get 6 poisons off on this thing? If we can, that's going to basically double our damage output because he's going to take poison damage every single turn. Here, we're getting low on health, but he's getting low on health too. He's poisoned now, and we just need to knock him out. Which one goes down first? The Onix. There we go. We have gotten through the first gym leader. I felt so good when that happened. And now we can move on and we can buy ourselves a 500 Pokédollar Magikarp. And clearly the strategy here is just to switch train Magikarp in Mount Moon until it gets to level 15, where it can learn Tackle. So we're just going to put Magikarp out first, and we're looking for Paris because Kakuna can really take Paris out easily. Now that we've leveled up, we have Tackle, and we can try the Jesse and James fight in Mount Moon. Here, we use Magikarp first against the Ekans. It goes down, but now we can use Kakuna here against Meowth. After Meowth goes down, we're just going to use Kakuna to do as much damage as we can to Coughing. Coughing does use poison-type moves, which would be super effective against Metapod, so the more damage we can do to it here, the better. After Kakuna goes down, Metapod comes out, and it's time to just tackle it down. There we go. So, heading on to Cerulean, I figure, hey, let's just take a shot at Misty. We have Magikarp, and she shouldn't use any water-type moves because Magikarp resists them. Well, Magikarp's too fragile. It gets knocked out by the Staryu. Okay, Metapod, get out there, start using some Hardens. But no, this one's not working either. Okay, Kakuna, can we poison it? No. So I decide to move on to Rival 2 instead. And against Rival 2, this is pretty simple. We just need to start off with Magikarp against Spearow because Spearow has super effective moves. Once it whittles it down a little bit and goes out, we can use Kakuna. Metapod is good to use against Sandshrew since Sandshrew is going to use a lot of accuracy dropping moves. We switch now to Kakuna again to take out Rattata, and we're using Kakuna to try to whittle down this Eevee. We get knocked out, but we still have Metapod. Metapod just needs to do more damage and not miss. There we go. We have gotten through Rival 2. We can head up to... Now we can head back to Cerulean Gym to take a lot more attempts. We're at a slightly higher level, but this run really just comes down to luck. How many times can we get her Starmie to use Harden? So in general, we're going to lead off by just trying to take out the Staryu as quickly as possible. We can see that there are a few runs where we get to Starmie and it's just not quite working out. So here, I finally decide to use Kakuna on Staryu, try to poison it, then switch to Metapod and start setting up our Hardens. This way, we can hopefully survive long enough to get to the Starmie. There we go. And now we've already set everything up, but we get knocked out by the Starmie. So, back to Kakuna, we're going to try to poison it. We've gotten poison off. Now, Magikarp's turn. Magikarp just needs the luck to get a lot of Hardens from Starmie. If it can get Hardened a lot of times, it goes down. We get through with just a little HP, but done and done. So next, we're heading down to the SS Anne in Vermilion City, and this is the point where we definitely need to go and fight Rival 3. I basically was checking that I got all the items and had fought all of the trainers in this section. We don't want to miss any experience or any good items. So, now that we've gotten all of that settled, we can fight Rival 3. And Rival 3 is not too difficult. Basically, we lead off with Magikarp to take down Spearow. And we're now going to switch into Kakuna to take down this Rattata. There we are. Sandshrew, we can start by trying to poison it. And at this point, we're definitely at a higher level, so we don't take so much damage. Metapod switches in so that it can hopefully knock out the Sandshrew. There we go, we've taken that one down, and now we're just going to leave Metapod out for now and see if it can knock out Eevee. It does have a lot of accuracy drops. I probably should have just swapped Pokemon here, but we are able to whittle it down quite a bit, and it looks like if we can just get the luck not to miss, there we go. We have taken out Eevee. So we get cut, and we can move on next to Lieutenant Surge. Lieutenant Surge is not very hard when you have 3 Pokemon. The strategy, start off with Kakuna and try to poison it. And then once we get it poisoned, we're just trying to do as much damage as we can, but we're also using some string shots to try to lower its speed. Next, Magikarp just needs to use Tackle as many times as possible. It's just cannon fodder. And finally, Metapod takes out the Raichu. There we go. Now, in Rock Tunnel, normally this section is kind of difficult, especially with the self-destruct hiker. But we're at high levels, and we also have a Metapod that knows Harden, meaning that we can tank some self-destructs without getting knocked out. Especially once you get 6 Hardens set up, self-destruct really isn't that strong. So we get through without too much difficulty. In Lavender, we can now take on Rival 4. We're going to lead off against the Fearow by using Poison Sting with Kakuna, and we're also going to use Poison Sting here on the Shelder to try to take it down as quick as possible. So it's just a little trolly because it will use Confusion strats, but we do take it down. And now against Vulpix, we poison it before we get knocked out. Let's switch to Magikarp and start tackling this thing down. Perfect. Next, against Sandshrew, we are going to use Metapod. Metapod is just fine for tackling this thing down. Sandshrew's not going to do that much damage after we set up all our Hardens. So we go ahead and get through this section of the fight. And finally, against Eevee, our accuracy is really low, but maybe we can knock it out with Metapod. It's just a matter of how many times we miss. But even if we miss a bunch of times, we're still going to have a backup because we still have Magikarp on the team. Here, we get the luck eventually. So here, we've actually run out of PP, so we wait till we get knocked out and then switch to Magikarp, and Magikarp finishes the job. So there we go. Now we can move on to Celadon, and let's try Erica's gym. Well, one thing I didn't ever realize in Erica's gym, because I never fight the other trainers, is that the cool trainer just to the right of Erica is completely trolly. She likes to lead off with a Weepinbell that mostly uses Wrap. And then she'll swap out Pokemon randomly, and the Gloom likes to put Paralysis or Sleep on you. So once you get paralyzed or put to sleep, she'll switch back to the Weepinbell and start using Wrap on you. And if all that wasn't enough, her final Ivysaur likes to use Growl and Leech Seed. So it lowers your attack, and it uses Leech Seed to slowly sap your health. I should have been able to take this Pokemon out at this level, but even then, once I got her low on health, she used a Hyper Potion. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's go fight Giovanni instead. He just uses Guard Specs. So against Giovanni, the strategy is very simple. We want to poison the rocks, then switch to Metapod, use all our Hardens, and then try to tackle these things down. It takes a bunch of attempts just because he has smart AI and he uses Rock Throw. Rock Throw is super effective against our bug Pokemon. So here we have poisoned the Onix, and we switch to Magikarp just to tackle this one down. And once we get it down, we can now move onto the Rhyhorn. We're going to start off again by trying to poison this one so that we put it on a timer. Once it's poisoned, let's switch out and let's put Metapod in. Metapod can go ahead and use Harden. The only attack that this Rhyhorn knows is Horn Attack. So if we can just resist its attacks, we're going to get through this just fine. The last Pokemon is Persian. We're already set up with all our Hardens, so let's just see if we can tackle it down. We get taken out, but we still have 2 more Pokemon. Magikarp goes down in 1 hit too, but Kakuna finishes the job. So with that being done, let's go back to Erica's gym and see if we can take out this cool trainer. We are at a much higher level at this point, but we finally get through it. Now Erica herself. We can see that we're at a fairly high level. Even Metapod is over level 30, but we are going to be able to slowly whittle her down. Basically, the Tangela thinks that grass moves are resisted, so it's only going to use Constrict and Bind. We can slow it down and use Harden in order to reduce its damage, and then it's just a matter of tackling it down. She will use potions, super potions in this case, to heal up, but eventually we get through. Next up, Weepinbell. Weepinbell uses Acid, which is super effective, but we are able to gradually whittle it down. Next, we switch to Kakuna, where we use Poison Sting to finish the job. Finally, Gloom uses Petal Dance, which is 4 times resisted by Kakuna, so we're just fine with that. We're just going to use a bunch of Poison Stings and take her out. Next, it's on to Lavender Tower, where we can see a preview of the trouble we're going to have later. These ghost Pokemon, even Ghastlies, are really hard to get through, even at level 50 with a Kakuna. We have a lower attack stat than we had with Weedle, so the fact that we can barely do any damage is really coming back to affect us here. The Marowak, on the other hand, is no trouble, because Metapod resists ground-type moves. That means that if it does use a move like Bone Club on us, it's not going to do that much damage, and we get through. On to Jesse and James. We're going to lead off with our Metapod, because their first Pokemon in this fight is Meowth. Basically, the strategy is to set up our 6 Hardens, and then go into tackle. We've already got all our Hardens set up, so we can just tackle down this Arbok. Finally, the Weezing does no Sludge here, so it can take us out, but that's fine. We're going to switch to Magikarp. We don't have any type weakness here, and we're just going to knock it down with Tackle. There we go. So, saving Mr. Fuji, now we can get access to the Pokeflute, which means we can go down and we can fight a Snorlax. This battle's not too difficult because Snorlax really only knows Headbutt as an attacking move. We can just set up a bunch of Hardens and then start tackling it down. So, now let's try Rival 5. Rival 5 is incredibly difficult, even here with our Pokemon at level 50. The basic strategy is this: poison the Sandslash with Kakuna, then switch to Metapod and start setting up our Hardens. The only move Sandslash will use against Metapod is Poison Sting, because it thinks it's super effective, even though Poison Sting is a 15 base power move. So we take it down. Next up, we have Ninetales, so we switch in Magikarp. Ninetales won't use Ember here. Then we leave Magikarp out for the Cloyster, because Cloyster will only use Supersonic, and that's going to enable us to basically batter it down after we get a little poison off with Kakuna. Getting the poison here is important, because otherwise there's a reasonable chance we knock ourselves out before we knock it out. Kadabra is very weak, so we just tackle it down. And finally, Jolteon. Of course it takes out Magikarp. We're going to switch to Kakuna. Jolteon thinks that Kakuna is weak against bugs, so it only uses Pin Missile, but Pin Missile is incredibly weak. So we are able to take it out, and Rival 5 is done. So with that being done, we can make our way on to Giovanni. And Giovanni could be hard, but not really once we know the strategy. We're going to lead off with our Magikarp, and just tackle down his Nidorino, and we're going to try to tackle down the Persian here. Persian does decent damage, but we get through. Now, against Rhyhorn, we want to put out Kakuna, and the idea is to poison it. If we can poison this Rhyhorn, it's going to make it much easier when we switch to Metapod and start setting up Harden. So there we go, we've gotten the poison off, time to switch out. Metapod, use Harden. Over and over and over again. And once we get 6 Harden set up, now we can start tackling this one down. Nidoqueen will just use Body Slam here. So the whole idea is that we've already got our defenses set up, and we just tackle it down. Done and done. But now we have another trouble. We go into Sabrina's gym, we're trying to fight the Channeler here with a level 38 Haunter, and it's just not working. Next, we try to go down to Koga, but he uses Psychic moves, so that's not working. I finally decide to go back to Viridian Forest, use up all my PP with Kakuna and Magikarp so that I can use Struggle. This is going to help us against Koga, at least, and if we can get through Koga, we can get later in the game, get more trainers, and hopefully level up a little bit more. So back to Koga's gym, we lead off with Kakuna every time against his first Venonat because it knows Sleep Powder, and that's the only move that it will spam against a Magikarp. The problem is, once it puts Magikarp to sleep, it's basically game over. So instead of banking on Sleep Powder misses, I decide to go ahead and use Kakuna instead. It still takes tons of attempts. We're getting pretty good at getting to the Venomoth, but this really just isn't going very smoothly at all. So hopefully we just get the luck to be able to get through to the end and not get a Psychic from the Venomoth, because that's what keeps ending my runs. Psychic is just way too strong from Venomoth here. So if we just keep grinding, maybe we can get there. We had another close call there. So here we finally are in a position to get a good run at Koga. The way that we do it is we struggle down the first Venonat, then switch in Magikarp for the second. The second Venonat does not know Sleep Powder. So we knock it out, and it's back to Kakuna for the third Venonat, where we struggle it down, and we have 3 Pokemon left for Venomoth. I'm going to lead off by hitting Venomoth one time with Kakuna. Next it's Metapod, and we're going to try to tackle this thing down. Once we take Toxic, we're going to switch in Magikarp. Magikarp gets knocked out, but now Toxic is not stacking its damage. So we can hopefully tackle it down, and we barely get through. But we have beaten another gym leader. Now we can go and fight Zapdos in order to get a little extra experience. I love taking down Zapdos with Bugs and Magikarp because it's kind of hilarious. But once we get through that fight, we can also go and fight Articuno. Articuno knows Peck and Ice Beam. We just need to not get frozen, basically. We poison it, switch in Magikarp, and now it's time to start tackling it down. Once we've tackled that one down, we have a little more experience, and we can go and fight Blaine. You can see that we're already getting to pretty high levels. Kakuna's already level 72 here, but even with high levels, this is not a consistent fight. We get knocked out over and over and over again because 2 of our Pokemon are weak to Fire-type moves, and Magikarp has no special defense whatsoever. So we really need to just hope to get the luck to get through this one. It's gonna take a bunch of attempts. Sabrina's also not going well because she has Psychic-type moves that completely wreck us. So, try as we might, this is just not working. Okay, back to Blaine. We have leveled all of our Pokemon up into the 70s, and now we're going to lead off with Magikarp and try to tackle down Ninetales. That one works. Now we need to take out the Rapidash. Rapidash goes down, but finally Arcanine, Fire Blast, there goes Magikarp. Now let's try to poison it with Kakuna. We get the poison off, we get some good luck, and we get through Blaine. Now back to Sabrina at our higher level. We're going to start by taking out the Abra with Kakuna, then switch to Magikarp to take out Kadabra. Alakazam takes us out with Psychic. Okay, next time for Metapod. Metapod goes down to Psychic too. And for Kakuna, we're just really praying, please use Psywave. Please just use Psywave. Psywave sucks so bad. Please just use it. And there we go. We have gotten through Sabrina. That took a long time. Now, Giovanni is the last trainer. Let's see if we can get through him. We're going to start off with Metapod against his Dugtrio because Metapod resists ground-type moves, and after we set up a couple string shots, we can't be hit by Fissure. We take out the Dugtrio. Now against Persian, we're going to use Kakuna in order to Poison Sting it down. And once that one goes down, we can switch yet again back to our Metapod for Nidoqueen and Nidoking. We want to save Kakuna to hopefully poison the Rhydon at the end. Now, Nidoking and Nidoqueen will use Thunder here, but Thunder's not very accurate. It's only like 70% accuracy, so we're able to get through after all our setup. Here, Rhydon will use the move Rock Slide, which takes down our Metapod. We switch in Kakuna and we poison it. Now, can Magikarp outlast? That's really the only question. We're able to get some misses from moves like Horn Drill and Rock Slide, and it's really close, but we take it down. We have beaten Giovanni without items. This is amazing. So now we are fighting against Rival 6. And Rival 6 is similar to Rival 5. We start off by poisoning the Sandslash with our Kakuna, then switch to Metapod and set up. Next up, he has an Execute. So we're going to sit out Kakuna, because Kakuna has super effective moves with Poison Sting here. Poison Sting is enough to take that one down. For the Ninetales, basically we just have to get a lot of Poison Stings off, and it goes down. Next for Ninetales, we're going to switch in our Magikarp. And Magikarp has an easy time here because Ninetales won't use strong moves. Same for the Cloyster. Cloyster's just going to confuse us, but that's it. If we can just get decent confusion luck, we're going to maybe tackle this one down. There we go. Next up, Kadabra. And I decided to leave Magikarp out there. We do decent damage just with Tackle. Once it goes down, we switch in Metapod and do the same thing. Tackle it down. Finally, we have Jolteon, and Jolteon's just going to use Pin Missile against our paralyzed Kakuna. It doesn't really matter though, because Pin Missile is so weak, just like all bug moves in this generation, that we take it down. So we've made it nearly to the end of the game. We're just going to take out Moltres real quick, and we can start to see if maybe this team is going to be able to sweep through the Elite Four. This is getting pretty darn interesting. Still no items, and with these three Pokemon, weak as they are, they have made it through to this point. That being said, here we can see that the trouble starts with Lorelei. We can't really do enough damage to take her Dugong out in 3 turns, and she likes to use Rest, so getting through Dugong is going to be incredibly luck-based at this level. I decide to come back at a higher level because it's just not working. Here at a higher level, we get all of our Pokemon up to level 90, and now we can actually get through the Dugong reliably. Once we get through that Dugong, we can start taking shots at the rest of the team. They're really strong with Ice Beam and Psychic and Blizzard in this generation. But if we can just get enough luck, we're going to eventually get through this one, I think. So it's just a grind over and over and over again until we finally get this good run right here. In this one, we lead off with Metapod. We tackle the opponent one time, we tackle Dugong one time to get it to use Rest, then we go into using Harden in order to boost our stats. After we've used all our Hardens, we're able to tackle it down. Next up, Cloyster. It's going to use Spike Cannon, we just tackle it down. Here, please use Amnesia. We take down Slowbro, no problem. Jinx is fragile. It takes just a couple hits to knock it out, but it does put us to sleep, and that kind of sucks. But we've taken it down, and we're on to Lapras. Lapras knocks out Metapod, so time to use the next Pokemon. We put in our Magikarp, and we tackle her down. She doesn't use a Super Potion. That's awesome. Next up, Bruno, and trust me guys, we are saving between Elite Four members here because this is not consistent. But starting off against Bruno, we are going to start by poisoning the first of his Onix. Then the idea will be to switch in to our Metapod. Metapod can use Harden, and even if he uses Rock Slide, it's not going to do that much damage unless it's a critical hit. So we go ahead and set up 6 Hardens here and start tackling this one down. Hitmonchan takes just a couple hits from a tackle. Hitmonlee is a 1-hit KO. Then against the second Onix, we're just going to use Tackle. Even with an X defend, we're doing pretty decent damage in whittling this one down. Finally, Machamp, we're just going to tackle it down as much as we can. There we go. We have gotten through Bruno. Now, Agatha is the actual challenge that we've been building up to this entire time, because Agatha has 3 ghost Pokemon that can only be hit by Kakuna. And Kakuna knows Poison Sting only. Poison Sting is resisted by her ghosts. So that first one didn't work. We come back after leveling up to level 100 with rare candies. Here we can see that we're doing more damage, but this really isn't that consistent. So we need a way to make our Kakuna stronger. This is where a very important trick comes in, the box trick. You can probably research the box trick online, but basically what it comes down to is this. If we get maxed out stat experience, we can still improve a level 100 Pokemon just by swapping it into a box, and after we take it out, it's going to have higher stats. The second thing that we can do, of course, is we can learn Harden, because Harden is actually possible in Gen 2 with a Kakuna. So coming back with a Kakuna that knows Harden, we are actually making a lot more progress in this fight, getting all the way to the final Gengar, in many cases. So the problem is that Agatha uses Super Potions whenever she gets to low health. She has 2 Super Potions per Pokemon, so we really need the luck where we can get through, and we also need to use PP ups on our Poison Sting to have enough PP to be able to get through this fight. So it's taking tons of attempts. I've even cut some of the failed runs here because, look, if you wanted to see all the failed runs, we'll be here for a few hours, guys. So the point is that eventually we will get a run. It's just purely luck-based, but we will get one where, with Harden and Poison Sting, we might just have a shot of getting through this. Here, in our last run, what we do is we use Harden 6 times here on the Gengar, but always remember, she can swap out her Pokemon, and she likes to swap in her Golbat here and there. So if she swaps in Golbat, we're going to swap out our Pokemon as well, because we do not want to waste Poison Stings on Golbat. Here we can see that Poison Sting's doing decent damage. It's about 3 hits to take out her substitutes when she uses it. And we just have to hope to survive with enough health. Golbat comes out, we swap in Magikarp. Magikarp tackles this one down. Even though it takes Toxic, that's perfectly fine. Now, she sends her Gengar back out, and she's guaranteed to, even if she swaps, only swap to Haunter. She'll only swap to the next Pokemon in her team. She'll never swap like 2 Pokemon later or anything like that. So we can set up our 6 Hardens here, and she swaps to Haunter, but that's just fine. We just keep using Poison Sting to try to get it down into a range. Back to Haunter, and we're going to knock that one down. Perfect. Next, we need to take out this Gengar. She is using Super Potions here. Fortunately, we boosted our PP a lot by using our 2 PP ups. So here, we finally get through that Gengar. Arbok is next, so we send out Metapod to tackle this one down. And this one's not too hard. We get through the Arbok without too much difficulty. The last Gengar is the real problem. This Gengar knows Confuse Ray, Lick, Dream Eater, and Psychic. Psychic will one-shot us, basically even at full health. But Lick, after we get our 6 hardens off, basically only does 2 damage. We're paralyzed, so we can't be put to sleep anyway, so Dream Eater is always just a miss. Confuse Ray also sucks, but with all our hardens, we do take less damage from Confusion than we normally would. Here, we're really just hoping that we can get through this one reasonably. This took tons of attempts. We have tons of turns where we're fully paralyzed. We have tons of turns where we don't do that much damage, but finally, we got through Agatha without items with a Kakuna. That's ridiculous, but it required max stat experience and it required getting hardened. Next up, we have Lance. And Lance is not too difficult compared to Agatha. We still need to get a run where we start off against the Gyarados without getting critical hit Hyper Beams or critical hit Hydro Pumps, but we can tank its normal attacks, especially when we have Harden. We like seeing Hyper Beam after we set our Hardens up. The other thing is that every time he uses Leer with Gyarados, he's just giving us more badge boosts, which is making us stronger and stronger. So finally, we are ready for a run where we are going to have a decent chance. We lead off with Metapod, we start setting up Harden, and we're just hoping that he uses Leer as many times as possible to boost all our other stats. We tackle it down. We tackle down both of the Dragonairs without too much difficulty, and it's on to Aerodactyl. Here, with Harden set up, Fly does decent damage, but it's not like it's a one-hit KO. We get it to low health before it flies, and he uses a Hyper Potion. Thanks, Lance. We switch into Kakuna, and now it's time to start using Harden once again to survive as long as possible. Poison Sting, and we just need to take this one down. Come on. There we go. We take it down with 9 health remaining. We get poison off on the Dragonite. Time for Magikarp, and we just need the Thunder misses. That's it. Thunder is 70% accurate, and we get through. Incredibly lucky, but it worked. We're on to the champion, and only one of our Pokemon is at level 100. Let's see how this goes with this team. Well, first things first, we need to lead off with Metapod, and Metapod's strategy is the same. Set up Harden here. We're trying to get a run where we don't take Poison Sting, at least not too quickly. We don't get poisoned by it. And now we just whittle it down. We do take poison eventually, but we get through with decent health. It's a couple hits to take out Alakazam. Next, for Exeggutor, we're going to switch to Kakuna and start setting up our Hardens. Here, Exeggutor is just going to use Hypnosis every turn we're awake, and then use Stomp and Barrage. But because we are setting up Harden, we're not taking that much damage. Here we Poison Sting it down. Next, for Cloyster, we want to poison this one. Once it's poisoned, switch to Magikarp. It will only use Spike Cannon in this battle. Magikarp has decent health. Let's tackle this one down. There we go. Next up is Ninetales, and we're going to use Tackle in order to take this one down, at least to as low health as possible, but it doesn't manage to take Magikarp out. Okay, Kakuna, let's do as much damage as we can. Let's see if we can get through this one. It's using Fire Spin. Kakuna also goes down, but Metapod tackles it, and that is done. We're on a timer, so there's no time to set up Harden. Let's just start tackling it down, and there we go. We have beaten the champion with the weakest team in Pokemon and no items. So, with that being done, we can head to the post game. And you know what the last challenge is. That's right, folks. We have to take out a Mewtwo. So here against Mewtwo, it takes tons of attempts because he just keeps using Recover and Psychic and knocking us out. What we really need is a battle that goes like this. We need to poison him with Kakuna. We need to do as much damage as possible. And we need him not to use Psychic, and we need him not to use Recover. That takes tons of luck. Because if he uses Recover a bunch of times, we're never going to knock him out. And if he uses Psychic a bunch of times, he takes out all of our Pokemon super easily. So after grinding here for a very, very, very long time, we eventually get a run where we are able to poison the Mewtwo right away, and we're not messing around. We're just doing as much damage as possible. Yes, he does use a couple of recovers, but the goal is just to get through with Kakuna with him having as little health left as possible. Once Kakuna goes down, it's time for Magikarp, and Magikarp just needs to use Tackle as many times as it can and get the health of the Mewtwo as low as it can. Hopefully not taking too many Psychics. We get it fairly low. Come on, don't use Recover. And there we go. We have beaten Mewtwo with a Metapod. And with that being done, we have beaten the game with the worst possible team. This really goes to show why I don't really do team challenges on this channel and why I don't really take them too seriously. Because if a team this week can beat the entire game, then you know any stronger team can too. That being said, we may still do some team challenges for situations where we have a special challenge like no damage or something like that in the future. With that being done, this has been RBY Pokemon Challenges. I'm Teo. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Watch a couple of my other videos here. Later.